I am so anxious should Father Paul try to come down the mountain for Mass here and lose his way in one of the great drifts.
In 1905, Graymoor, the birthplace of the Society of the Atonement, had been described by one visitor as a howling wilderness. It was. It was also a place of dreams. Father Paul, an Episcopal priest who converted to Roman Catholicism, was a vibrant, charismatic man who early in his life dedicated himself to healing the wounds of a broken church.
This man was really willing to put his life on the line for what he believed. And success or failure didn't enter into the definition.
How could the world believe the Gospels if the followers of Christ were divided into Roman Catholics, Orthodox, Anglican, and Protestant splinters?
A remarkable woman who joined in this spiritual journey was Lorena Mary White, later to become Mother Lorena of Graymoor.
You can't have Father Paul without Mother Lorena, as far as I'm concerned. They're a unit.
In 1897, as a postulant in an Episcopal order, she began exchanging letters with Father Paul, who was then in Omaha, Nebraska. She told him of her dreams.
It is simply this: to be one of a band of mission sisters called after St. Francis, if that might be, and vowed to corporate poverty.
Almost from childhood, the thought of a religious order for the American church has been present with me.
Opening his Bible randomly, Father Paul asked for God's help.
We joy in God through our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom we have now received the atonement. The moment my eyes rested upon the word atonement, if I be not deceived, God himself has given his name to us. The doctrine we are to preach is the at-one-ment of man with God.
May I make one suggestion in sharing the name? Might it be the Society of St. Francis of the Atonement?
In October 1898, Father Paul visited Lorena at her home in Warwick, New York.
On that memorable day, we met for the first time.
Father Paul and Mother Lorena, in a simple ceremony, exchanged crucifixes.
These same crucifixes represented the entire oblation of ourselves into the hands of God for the purpose of founding the Society of the Atonement.
We had a great feeling of exultation.
On his way to the guest room, Father Paul was again racked with doubt. Who was he to have such ambitions? Who was he to give advice to Lorena? In despair, he fell to his knees, opened a Bible, and once more asked God for help. Randomly selecting a passage, he read,
When God made promise to Abraham, surely blessing I will bless thee, and multiplying I will multiply thee.
As he read on, his anxiety melted away. By chance, a month earlier, Lorena learned that 3 women had restored a small abandoned church in Garrison, New York, called St. John's Church in the Wilderness, and that they wanted sisters to live and work at this place called Graymoor.
If Graymoor is to be, and I assure you, the very name has a fascinating sound to me, there is something waiting for us beyond. How far beyond, I do not know.
On December 15, 1898, during a bitterly cold winter, Sister Lorena arrived at Graymoor.
I was happy. I would wash all the morning, something I had never tried to do before, and then walk 8 or 9 miles visiting among the people. Not even the great blizzard could freeze the wellspring of interior joy.
Father Paul moved into an old paint shack that he dubbed the Palace of Lady Poverty. When it rained, he would sit at his desk, holding an umbrella over his head. June 4th, 1900, the Feast of Corpus Christi, was the day the mountain above the convent was purchased. To claim this Mount of the Atonement, Father Paul fashioned a Corpus Christi cross, dragged it up the mountain, and planted it with these words,
Here to this quiet spot I came as a witness to a great truth, and I am ready for anything.
What's observed worldwide as the Week of Prayer for Christian Unity originated right here in 1908. Father Paul Watson, our founder, began it. And now the Week of Prayer for Christian Unity is celebrated all over the world. I think Father Paul would be pleased.
The Centro Pro Unione in Rome is the library and conference center dedicated to the dissemination of ecumenical and interreligious dialogue. Conferences, lectures, and classes are held here.
To have such a beautiful place right on Piazza Navona, overlooking one of the greatest works that there is, the Four Rivers Fountain, it's just a wonderful environment. All right, here we are in the conference center at the Centro Pro Unione here in Rome. Now, this conference center was used during the Second Vatican Council as a place for the bishops to come and meet and understand the events that happened during the day. Also, Vivaldi played the Four Seasons for the first time here in Rome, in this room.
Located at the very center of the Roman Catholic Church, the Centro has a large collection of reference books in the care of the friars and a staff of librarians, theologians, and assistants.
The Centro is basically, kind of a beacon. It's something that we're trying to reach out to the world to understand more.
Father Paul spread the message of unity by preaching in pulpits and everywhere he could. He published articles in his magazine, The Lamp. Later, a radio program was started, the Ave Maria Hour. Gather up the fragments that nothing be lost. These were the words of Jesus when he fed the 5,000 with 2 fishes and 5 barley loaves. And it was in his small spare room that these words rang in Father Paul's ears when he was inspired to create a foundation called The Union That Nothing Be Lost. Its purpose was simple and demanding.
To use all I possess, time, talent, influence, money, to do all the good I can until the last breath is spent.
Through The Union That Nothing Be Lost, millions of dollars have been raised and distributed to parishes, missions, hospitals, and schools all over the world.
Francis always said, go preaching the gospel, sometimes with words. Sometimes with words.
Since 1900, homeless men of every race and belief had been fed and then sheltered at Graymoor. Today, there are accredited facilities for drug and alcohol rehabilitation. Every year, approximately 1,200 men come to Graymoor, and 1,300 men, women, and families come to St. Joseph's Rehabilitation Center in Saranac Lake, New York. In 1998, the ministry Do Not Fear to Hope was established at Graymoor, serving hundreds of people living with HIV/AIDS. On October 30th, 1909, the Society of the Atonement was corporately received into the Roman Catholic Church.
At one time, he thought that the Anglican Church, they were going to re-enter the Roman Catholic Church. I think at a certain point in his life, he realized this was not going to happen, certainly not in his lifetime. And so he and Mother Lorana and the community at the time, they had to make a decision for themselves, but that we must enter.
In 1910, Father Paul celebrated Mass as a Roman Catholic for the first time. After the Society of the Atonement was received into the Roman Catholic Church, Graymoor's growth accelerated and the missions proliferated.
Dal Vangelo secondo Matteo.
This is the Church of San Onofrio al Gianicolo. In 1946, Pope Pius XII gave the care of the church to the Franciscan Friars of the Atonement.
The Friars and the Sisters of the Atonement established scores of missions and parishes around the world, for African American families in the South, for Mexican workers in the Southwest, for families in the slums of New York, and the missions in Italy, Ireland, Canada, Jamaica, England, Japan, and Brazil. In 1926, The first Canadian Vancouver mission among the Japanese was established. During World War II, 2,000 Japanese were relocated to a camp in Greenwood, British Columbia. The sisters and friars followed them to the camp. After the war, the friars and the sisters established a mission in Japan. In 1933, Mother Lorena was suddenly struck with a painful infection that could not be treated. She died 2 years later.
I owe much, unspeakably much, to her. I am not ashamed to sit as a learner at the feet of Lorena Mary Frances White.
In 1940, 5 years after Mother Lorena's death, Father Paul Watson died quietly in his tiny room. The force of his conviction touched the lives of thousands, and in a very real way, he prepared the ground for the ecumenical revolution that took place under Pope John XXIII. Father Paul's powerful vision of Christian unity continues within the Church and is embodied in the words of the Holy Father Benedict XVI. Nourished and sustained by the Eucharist, Catholics cannot but feel encouraged to strive for the full unity for which Christ expressed so ardent a hope at the Last Supper. And I turn now to you, dear friends, from different religious traditions. I assure you that the Church wants to continue building bridges of friendship with the followers of all religions. I address all with simplicity and affection.